Ladies and gentlemen, Binnall of America!
And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Tim Binnall.
No commercials, no subscriptions, no network, no rules. And at the end of the day, my friends, no comparison. Welcome to another edition of BOA The Revival 2026. We're kicking it off here with sort of an episode where I guess I could say this is one of those shows where I'm just so incredibly lucky to have done this for so long and to have made the friends that I made because to sort of give you a little background here, this past fall, the Dover Historical Society's Samhain Museum, under the stewardship of Elizabeth Fallon, put together a Dover Demon exhibit, which was really kind of blew my mind. As folks know, I'm from Boston, just outside Boston suburbs. So Dover Demon is sort of like my local cryptid. And I was like, wow, because they really don't do anything in Dover to recognize the Dover Demon. So, I went and checked it out, and it was pretty cool. And they have like the story of the Dover Demon on the wall. And of course, my longtime friend, Loren Coleman, factors significantly into the story. And he's all over the history of the story as laid out on the wall at the museum. And, I got home and told Loren about it and everything. And I was just kind of thinking to myself, what a fortunate position I'm in, because I can get Loren on Binnall America and we'll do a deep dive on the Dover Demon because it really piqued my interest in the case. I'm sure we've talked about it from time to time over the years, but I don't think we've ever really kind of dug into it and sort of dug into the history of all this and how you got involved and how it all unfolded. So that's what we're going to do today. And, I just feel incredibly lucky that this is kind of like a little Christmas present to me. We're taping this on December 27th. So, it's going to be a fun trip down memory lane and hopefully unearth some nuggets on the case that, as I said, it's often talked about peripherally, but you don't really see. I don't even know if there's been a book really on it. I'm sure it's been mentioned in chapters of other books, but it's an interesting case. And the man who really put it on the map, Loren Coleman, is here back on Binnall of America, for a deep dive on this. Welcome back to the show, Loren. Thank you so much for doing this.
It's great to be here, Tim. Back with my old buddy from Massachusetts.
That's right.
This is a great topic. And, the Dover Historical Society did honor the Dover Demon by finally acknowledging it. And that has been a rocky road because when the Dover Demon happened in 1977, nobody from the Historical Society would even talk to us. They really thought that it was too demeaning a story, too self-conscious, and it was like 10 years after the Dover Demon that they finally came up with one way to sort of honor it. They did a T-shirt for like a month and tried to do a fundraiser. And then it disappeared from the Dover Historical Society. And so this was great to hear about it after the fact, but at least it was nice to see the pictures from you and from the cryptozoology facts woman and things like that. I haven't been able to get down there, and it looks like I won't make it because it's a short-term exhibit.
That seems to be the case, but hopefully they just from my experience going there, it was like there had to have been more people at that. It's an odd little place, the Dover Historical Society, and God bless them. This is I'm not throwing shade here, but they're only open the museum part's like only open the second Saturday of the month. So it's like, or you can call and presumably someone will show you around. So it's certainly not like the International Cryptozoology Museum, which is open all the time. This is like if you got something else going on the second Saturday of the month, you're out of luck.
Right.
So when I went, this was in November, so I think it was like second time they had done it. It was like packed. It was really packed in this little sort of old timey house where they have the museum. So I'm hoping that they, they see the possibilities here with this, because we've seen how it's an interesting conundrum. We've seen how the cryptids can transform a community, but Dover doesn't necessarily need the transforming. It's a very posh community. I don't think they don't even have restaurants. I don't think. I think I saw like one Dunkin' Donuts. It's really a very, very small little hamlet of sorts. So
it's absolutely the wealthiest town in Massachusetts. And as I even wrote at the time, there are more horses in Dover than there are people. So it's that kind of community.
Yeah, exactly. So I can see the sort of uncertainness about it all, but hopefully they'll at least. I would like to see something done for the 50th in a couple of years, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's exactly true. The 50th is coming up. This is 48th, 49th next year. There's no reason that they shouldn't keep the little beginnings of the Dover honoring.
Yeah,
because it's really a non-controversial subject. Dover Demon was seen, kind of disappeared, so might as well have some kind of monument to it.
There you go. Now let's journey back here. April 21, 22, 1977. That's when it happens. But let's take you back. We know who you are. Where were you? What were you? Where was Loren Coleman sort of in his career, in his life? Where were you in April of 77 when this happened?
Well, let me go back a little bit.
Okay.
To 74.
Yeah.
I grew up in Illinois, and then I had moved to California in 1974 because I figured if I was going to move from Illinois, I wanted to study a little bit more in depth Bigfoot, because I'd been doing Bigfoot research for a long time.
Yeah.
And I hooked up with George Haas and Jim McLaren and interviewed all of the people and had journeyed up and down the coast. And so in 75, when I moved out to Massachusetts, it wasn't emails back then, it was mail.
Yeah.
I'd actually procured a job at the Walker School, which was in Needham, and it was exactly on the border of Dover, Massachusetts.
Okay.
So I was living in Needham, and I, of course, so much energy. I actually was working an overnight job. I was in charge of the overnight, sort of security and taking care of these emotionally disturbed boys, getting up in the middle of the night with them and stuff. During the day, I was going to school, a master's program of 2 years in Boston. And I also was writing and doing research on cryptozoology. So
right.
I was just doing all of this kind of energy stuff. And I needed a break occasionally. And so I would actually go across the border into Dover, and right across the border in Dover, there was a little place called the Dover Country Store. Mm-hmm. That was sort of got to be a regular of mine. I would see if there's any artifacts or things that I needed to collect to potentially, get cryptozoological or strange things.
Yeah.
A Fortean.
Right,
and
right.
So, late in April of 1977, I was in the Dover Country Store, and there was a woman there, a young woman I'd always talk to. Her name was Melody Fryer. And right behind her on her bulletin board was a strange little drawing of a little creature.
Yeah.
Of course, I was very interested. I was interested in little creatures. I asked her what it was, and she said, a friend of a friend had drawn it because they'd seen it on April 21st. So the first story that I always talk about is Bill Bartlett
Right.
on April 21st was in his little Volkswagen with his two friends, and they were going down a road, Farm Street in Dover, about, a little late. It was, of course, in April. It wasn't quite dark yet, but it wasn't really light anymore.
Yeah.
And he was speeding down the road, probably about 40 miles an hour. Of course, Dover is a very rural place, and it was even more rural back then.
Yeah.
And so he's speeding along, and he sees this creature on a stone wall off to his left. It's a stone wall, and then behind it, there's a field. So you can kind of get this setting. It's really isolated. He sees this thing, and he says it's about 4 feet in length, has a head that looks like a watermelon, and has no eye, no nose, no mouth, but it has these eyes that are orange. The skin seems to be light orange, and it has a body that's all orange. He described it as like shark skin or sandpaper, and has an orange tint to it. And it seems like it had these long fingers that would wrap its fingers around the rocks and slowly moving. Of course, his timing was seconds. He saw this seconds. Right. His friend sitting next to him was looking out the other way, didn't see it. His friend in the back was talking to the friend up front. But Bill saw it, and he started shouting, "What was that? What was that?" And he started shaking because he was scared. And he was going so fast, he went down the road by the time his friends had really recognized that something had happened. Yeah. And so they started shouting out, turn around, turn around. And Bill was too scared. He didn't want to turn around, but he kept on going, and they kept saying, turn around. We want to see it. We want to see it.
Yeah.
So he finally turned around, and his friend next to him was hanging out the window shouting, come on out. I want to see you. Come on out. And it didn't work. And he was just, Bill was petrified. He went home, and Bill has this kind of mind that's photographic.
Yeah.
And so he sat down with a piece of paper, and he drew it out. And that's the drawing that a lot of people have seen online and nowadays, Instagram.
Yeah. And that's the one you saw behind Melody Fryer.
That was the drawing that she'd put up, a copy. Because what of course, during this week for them, this was vacation school week.
Oh, yeah.
So they weren't even around each other. Because what happened is a few hours after Bill Bartlett's sighting, another guy named John Baxter, he was 1.2 miles from this first sighting, and he was actually had been out with his girlfriend and had dropped her off at her house and was walking home. So he's coming down this road, moonlit, wasn't moonlit, it was very dark, but he all of a sudden, at some distance, maybe 70, 80 feet away, saw this guy that he thought the profile with the large head was something coming towards him, walking on two legs. And he said, BJ, is that you? BG, is that you? And the individual, or whatever it was, wouldn't answer him. So, John's getting closer and closer to this because they kept walking towards each other. Then all of a sudden, and this is around midnight, after date, and all of a sudden this creature takes off down a little gully.
Yeah.
And John hears the leaves of the gully, and then it goes up on a little, on the other side, which is a little up. And
Yeah.
this creature stands on a rock and leans against a tree. And that's maybe a other drawing that you've seen, because it's one that was put in my book. And also a lot of people, of course, took it. And it showed the same creature in an upright position, thin, wispy body, kind of spindly fingers, head, and the eyes glowed or showed up.
Right.
Not orange, but just against the black body, and the eyes glowed. And they both stared at each other. John kept looking at it probably much longer than the Bill Bartlett.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. If he was on foot. Yeah.
Yeah, but he also just stayed there. He stayed there so long he actually scared himself, because he started thinking, what could this creature do to me? I don't know. So all of a sudden he took off. And that was that. Then what occurred next was about 24 hours later, there was two individuals, Will Tanner and A.B. Bramdam, were going down a road that was also 1.2 miles away from John Baxter's sighting. So that was one of the strange things about the Dover Demon sighting, is once it was all over, I looked at where these sightings were on a map.
Yeah.
I lived over in Needham, 1.2 miles away. 1.2 miles was the Bill Bartlett sighting. 1.2 miles was the John Baxter one. And then 1.2 miles was Amy and Will. Anyway, what they did, they were going down the road in a car, kind of slowly, and Will was paying attention to driving. He didn't really see this creature very well, but she did. Amy did, Abby, and she made the comment that the eyes were very, very green. And the researchers that interviewed her later tried to break her story down, thinking she was just trying to jump on with the boys, but she was very, very definitely clear that she'd seen something that looked like the same shape crossing the road, but the eyes were green, and she felt that she wasn't going to change her story just because there was a boys club. So that was definitely a difference there. So what happened was, after I had the real sighting of the drawing at the Dover Country Store, I was put in contact with Bill Bartlett and then the other eyewitnesses, and I got in some other researchers so that we could do a research pool and re-interview everybody, plus the local police, local teachers, the parents. And there was across the board, credible kids.
Yeah.
Credible kids. Bill Bartlett was, he admitted that he'd smoked a little tote, before, about an hour before they were driving. He wasn't high. He wasn't hallucinating. He wasn't a druggie, a real.
Right.
And he wasn't drinking. None of these kids drank. None of them were really into that stuff. And so they were all they had this experience. And then, of course, the media got involved. The police got involved. Everybody got involved. And people, the kids, basically did not change their stories. There was different personalities among these four teens. Yeah. And for instance, Baxter, he tended to go up and down in he sometimes felt like nobody was believing him. Yeah. So you would occasionally, as you see in eyewitnesses, he sometimes had to puff his chest up and be very defensive.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
But that would go away. And now we're 48 years later,
Yeah.
and you'd see something like Bill Bartlett has become a renowned local artist. The Boston Copley Society, he's a member.
Okay. I didn't realize he had. Okay.
Oh yeah, he sells landscapes. For years, he did not want to talk about the Dover Demon. He was really somewhat embarrassed. And over the years, we've seen some of this comes back. He would show up occasionally for an interview with the Boston Globe or something like that.
Yeah.
But,
Well, interestingly, I think I mentioned this to you. His brother came. He was there like when they opened the doors that day when I went, and I thought that was kind of interesting. But he was like, my brother doesn't want anything to do with this. And he's like, the media calls him all the time about it, and he just doesn't want to deal with it. But it was like, I thought it was very interesting that his brother came there under the reasoning to donate their mother's army uniform or something to the museum. But it was like, I got the impression kind of he wanted to get a look at what all was going on with this Dover Demon thing. So it was interesting. And so I didn't get much of a chance to talk to him, but he said his brother was on the level about what he saw. So that was about it,
Yeah, and there's been many articles written, many media attempts to, and because all of the research, Walt Webb was the assistant director of the planetarium for the Boston Science Museum, very credible.
Yeah.
You know me, I'm sort of credible now. So it's interesting to see that we've all survived.
Yeah.
So we're getting older. Ed Fogg, one of the researchers with the UFO organization, he's passed away.
Yeah.
And in terms of the 4 eyewitnesses, Bartlett and Baxter comes and goes.
Yeah.
And Will has deceased. We think that he's passed away. And the woman is still involved. She's, a local housewife, I think.
Yeah.
Very calm background kind of individual for the Dover area.
Yeah.
And so I've tracked them all over the years, and it's been very interesting because it's a real slice of life. These people didn't know what they were getting into.
Right. It was like that 7 Up movie where they keep following people throughout their lives.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's been good to, and the other thing is that I did come up with the word Dover Demon.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Yeah.
Because I have a habit, if I start investigating a case, I create a file and I come up with a file name, usually something that clicks in my head, like Dover Demon was alliteration, and I didn't think it was a demon, but it certainly was a little guy.
Yeah.
And so that stayed on. And I didn't know it was going to become as big as it has, but to all of a sudden find out there's little figurines made in Japan 40 years
Oh,
after.
yeah.
And, we got an artist to make one for our museum. And for instance, this year, to have that happen in Dover, for them to have their little exhibit at the same time at the Roger Williams Zoo in Rhode Island, they created a life-size replica of it and put it there for 2 months. I'm still trying to track down those people. If they want to only put it up for 2 months, we'll take it in the museum, I mean, you don't throw something like that away. But it's remarkable to me that the Dover Demon has become, there's so many places that make T-shirts now. There's so many artists that have done pictures. There's, programs that it's usually, and no one's done a program like this, the whole program about the Dover Demon, but it has always been a footnote people want to talk about.
Yeah. It's a really, it's a weirdly iconic sort of case because the picture is so striking. And it's such a one-off, with all due respect to Nate Brislin and his wonderful book, Crawlers. Nate thinks this is part of a bigger sphere of creatures. We don't necessarily, maybe we can get at that later, but we're sticking on the case right now. But it's so unique and singular that it really is it captures the imagination. Now, what were your what were your thoughts, just to sort of take it back to when you first saw that flyer? It must have kind of blown your mind in a way, because like here you are, you're the you're the only. This reminds me of like Stan Friedman getting the tip about Roswell from the program director when he was doing the interview in Pittsburgh. It was like the stars aligned in a perfect way. Like if it was in any other town, that drawing could have just sat on the billboard and on the thing, and no one would have even noticed. But it was like it seems almost like I hate to go there, but it seems like almost predestined. It's like this is almost magical in a way how it came about. What were you thinking when you saw the thing? You must have been like, well, I'm studying little creek mysterious. I'm the guy. You found the perfect guy to look into this. I happen to be really into studying mysterious creatures, so let's get after it.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody else would have come into that store and seen that, they would have just laughed it off or not be interested. I was immediately interested. I needed to know the backstory. I needed names. I wanted dates. I backtrack everybody. I even went down to the police department and asked them if they knew about it, and gave them a copy of the drawing. Tried to get more. I mean, if there was one sighting, I figured there must be more. And then, of course, in the following years, to not have any seemed pretty amazing to me.
Yeah.
The other thing that it's been, I see other researchers go there, and they do find little things like the one thing that one of these Massachusetts radio shows that do this kind of stuff, he and a friend decided to go in April some other year, like 5 years later, and go to all the spots where the Dover Demon had seen, and they're all connected by a little stream, which seems pretty amazing. They're
interesting,
like the creatures traveling the stream.
Yeah.
But what really, I mean, I could not deal with it. I had to.
Right. Yeah.
And it wasn't a miracle to me. It wasn't magical or even the paranormal. It was very Fortean. And obviously I was into investigating anything weird. And just because it's weird, it doesn't scare me away.
Right.
So it actually attracts me. But here I was. The woman was very courteous and very helpful. She wasn't trying to push it. And didn't make me buy more antiques.
Right. So you get the information on these kids, and so you just kind of contact them, and they're like, "Hey, I'm looking into this."
Yeah, well, I was working in child welfare.
Okay.
I was getting educated, getting my master's in social work, so I was very schooled and clinically careful. I went through parents. Interview these kids. I'd interview them in their homes with their parents in another room or that room. I did a very systematic approach, not, say, come on down to the local diner.
Right, you were hanging out in the high school parking lot or something like that, like trying to waiting for them to get. Yeah, exactly.
No, I did all of that, and then the adults that I interviewed, I was credentialed enough for them to trust me, which was very trustworthy. And it did, Walt Wedman and a lot of the UFO reporters all of a sudden gave me more props because I was working in child welfare. But actually, I was able to do a kind of clinical assessment of all the kids, because one of the things that you see in a lot of the cryptid reports are that a lot of hoaxers, they're either in it for money, for attention, or because there is some psychological reason that they're seeing things. Yeah. So those things, I had to actually analyze these kids in a way that didn't seem like I was psychoanalyzing them.
Right, right. That makes sense. That makes sense. Now, so this happens, you see the drawing, you're interviewing the kids. How and when does this blow up in the media? Did you like tip off who even reported it first?
Well, what happened was because I'd shared the drawings with the police, apparently the reporters, the local newspaper reporters or the local radio reporters, they go to the police now and then to dig up stories.
Gotcha.
So that's, I guess, the police first gave them my name and Bartlett's name. So the media started tracking through me all of the cases. And then that's how Walt Webb, who was interested in investigating this because he was getting all this stuff through the media, and he tracked me down, and I decided to do a pool of researchers. And it all was logical. And I think the real paper, which was a tabloid, a monthly tabloid of alternative newspaper, was the word that was used back then. They did a story, and they did a really good story in which they sent photographers out and took pictures of the young people near the sites.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even though we've got to thank the Boston Globe for publishing the drawing, we have to look at some of these newspapers, the alternative newspapers that really took it in depth, and they really treated it. They're ones that they used the word. They took my Dover demon, made it the demon of Dover, and I had to switch it back. But and then I did an article, straight articles for some of the publications that I write for.
Yeah.
And then I put a whole section of Mysterious America was the Dover demon,
Right.
Including Walt Webb's. He did an analysis, so it's strange to read it and see my name pops up in it because that's the way he wrote the report. But it was a very, very good case because you can see we captured all of the different moments that the media, the parents, the cops, the teachers, even the one teacher that seems to have one negative comment. That was a little jealousy of Bill Bartlett's art because Bill Bartlett was quite an artist.
Yeah.
Even at 16, 17 years old, people could see he was going to shine.
Right. And these kids all lived in Dover, right?
Yeah, they lived in Dover.
Yeah.
Whereas the researchers, and I mean, I was in Needham, there were people in Medfield, there was people in, some of the surrounding communities, because of course, Dover is so small with the horses and the people that you have a surrounding area that's actually more people, more sophistication.
Right. Yeah. What was the reaction of the kids when this kind of blew up? He said John Baxter was a little kind of put off, and we know now that Bill Bartlett doesn't want to do any media about it. But sort of like, what was their reaction when this became like a national news story, right? The AP picked it up and it's all over the place. Very
much a national news story, as well as now in the 70s with the era of reality TV programming.
Yeah.
You'd occasionally have a show turn up and interviewing everybody. Bill Bartlett was very cautious in the beginning, and he didn't want to be interviewed. And then he would, it's 49 years, so you can really take out that timeline. There are periods where he seems to get talked into being on TV.
Yeah.
But it's like 4 or 5 times, maybe 3 times he's done it. Yeah. And the others, they don't exist in the media. So they always want to go to Bartlett. He usually says no. And then when he does, it's a big deal. So
yeah. Well, John Baxter sounds like he had the best sighting of the three. So he's someone I definitely would want to talk to. I should see if he wants to talk to anybody.
Yeah. Well, he did, because the creature was upright. He looked at it for a long time.
Yeah.
Bill Bartlett, I think I trust the most because his photographic memory. So
Right.
But the thing about Baxter's drawing is that because it's in silhouette and he looked at him for so long, it's equal in a different way.
Right. Yeah. Because Bartlett presumably saw it illuminated by the headlights, so we got a better look at it. And
Right.
this is 1977, so I highly doubt John Baxter had a flashlight, or even, you don't. Everyone carries around a flashlight and a camera now in their pocket, but back then,
or those things on their head, even walking. Yeah, he had no lighting of Baxter. If anything, he was thinking about his girlfriend as he was walking, and then he says he saw this creature.
Yeah.
He was preoccupied.
It's pretty wild. It's a great case. So they did some local. One of the local stations did do a thing on the exhibit at the museum, and I wrote it up for Coast to Coast. And I noticed two things. Elizabeth Fallon, who spearheaded this for the Dover Historical Society's Samhain Museum, she was interviewed on there, and she dropped a couple of nuggets. I thought she might have got them from you, but apparently you have not crossed paths with her yet. So she mentioned a couple of things that were kind of news to me that I hadn't heard before. She said, and maybe you can clear this up. She said 5 years prior to the famous, and this isn't a direct quote, I'm sorry, this is paraphrased. 5 years prior to the famous 1977 sighting, someone in the neighboring town of Sherborne reported seeing something, and this is a quote, looked very much like the description of the Dover demon. So is there a 72 sighting in Sherborne of something similar?
Well, what happened is after 77, that's when you have people come forward with old sightings.
Right. That makes sense.
So that happened. Somebody said, well, they were out in their car and they thought this creature kind of came up to their car, and they weren't sure if they scratched it, but they tried to get in their car, and they thought it was the Dover demon. And that happened prior to 77. She may be talking about that one.
Okay.
And then, of course, then people tried to throw in UFOs, but there weren't any UFOs seen in 77 in conjunction with the Dover demon. But there were, in the prior years, some single UFO near landings in the Dover area. So,
interesting.
So people were trying to make the associations, but
yeah. Okay. Because she had said also, and I just want to get this. She said a reported UFO sighting in Medfield, which is just the town over, on the evening before the sightings. You know anything about that?
No, the UFO investigators went through their logs and they found those, but she obviously got more information or tracked it down that way.
Yeah. Well, who knows? That could be. So what? So you worked with the UFO. That must have been an interesting combination. Had you? Yeah, I guess you had crossed paths with UFO folks before this happened, right?
Yeah. Well, my best friend for many years, and still is Jerry Clark.
Right.
We did a couple books together because he would always take on the UFO part and I would take on the creatures part.
Yeah.
And what occurred then with this group of UFO people, all from reputable UFO organizations, they'd have a different take on it. And of course, when I wanted to do an investigation in 1977, there were absolutely no cryptozoology investigators around. So the ones that I trusted the most were individuals that were in their organizations, UFO organizations, and they had the criteria was be able to interview someone and tell me if they're able to hoax you or be credible. And so like Walt Webb, who'd done all of that work with astronomy and worked at the museum, science in Boston, he certainly was somebody that I wanted to work with.
Yeah.
And so that worked out well. They, of course, I would come out with were the Dover Demon like the Kelly creatures in 1955 in Kentucky? Things that were short and little and had spindly arms and legs and little fingers.
Yeah.
Were they like some of the folklore that we got from the upper Midwest of little Sasquatch type creatures? And then the UFO people, of course, would bring some of their little hominid stories from Brazil or elsewhere in the country. And we kept trying to make the Dover Demon fit with all of this other stuff. Dover Demon never would, but we tried. And then, of course, we went around investigating because there's so many horses in town. Were there any newborns, foals, they call them? And were they crawling across the road? Were they sighted by other people? Was it off season?
Yeah.
Was there any raccoons with mange? Was there any escaped animals? And so we investigated all of those, kept coming up negative. So I think it was some years later, a ufologist out of Illinois that raises cattle came up with his own article in the Anomalous, which shocked me since I thought that the Anomalous was a organization and a magazine that I'd written it for. And he wrote an article called Demon Moose. And he tried to say that the Dover Demon was a newborn moose that had crawled up on stones and got seaweed caught in its hooves, and they look like fingers. And so
it's quite a stretch.
it was quite a stretch because in terms of the different items that he set out, I did my own points, like it was the wrong month for a moose to be born. It was the moose were born later in May and stuff. And also, moose are huge. They're large. They get up to 300 pounds almost immediately, within a few weeks. And they have ears that are large, that are, flare out.
Oh, yeah. He was spotting those ears, yeah.
And the mouth that's big because their main object is to find their mother and nurse. So, so there was lots in his theory that were wrong, but you have to deal with that kind of stuff over the years. And so I answered that, and I put his theory and my answer to it in the new version of Mysterious America, just to keep it up to date.
There you go. Yeah, I think the one other skeptical sort of take was I've seen it posited that it was like an owl of some kind or a bird or something like that, but I don't know. That doesn't really fly.
Owls are used for everything. Moth.
I know.
But there was a article in I believe it was the Boston Magazine in later years where they said it was an escaped lemur, which there have not been any lemurs caught or escaping in Dover, but it makes for a good story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it reminds me a little bit of the Loveland, the Frogman, too. A little bit of
right.
Reminiscent of that. Was there? What's that?
No, they come up with different animals to take the place.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, exactly. And sort of like these sort of isolated things where it's like, okay, it's one and done. And that one, it was a couple times, but in Dover, was there? So how long after like the sightings did you get hooked up to the story? Like a week? Was it a month? Like how long would you say?
Well, the story happened on the 22nd, 21st,
22nd. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I saw it about right before the end of the month. Okay. And I think it was the May 1st when the media started contacting me.
Oh, so okay.
I got thrown into it almost immediately.
All right. So was there sort of Okay, there's these three
I
sites.
almost got thrown out of social work school because the Boston Globe article came out, and my professors came around and said, "Are you the guy that they just?"
Oh, really?
Oh,
Wow.
yes. The
So did you get-
credibility.
So did they what did they kind of just give you a stern lecture to like mind your P's and Q's kind of how'd that unfold?
Well, they asked me a lot of questions, and then when I actually a few years later was teaching, I was an adjunct professor at a university in which I wanted to join the organization of professors. And after that meeting, one of the other professors came over and said, "Are you the guy that investigates alien sightings?" Which they got mixed up,
Yeah, of
or
course.
Dover Demon with aliens.
Yeah.
And that it was strongly hinted that I should leave the organization. So,
Wow.
and
That's
I
why.
mean, it put me in a position of really people like Meldrum and Grover Krantz who get excluded in their university settings because they're investigating, strange creatures. It happens more than people think.
I can imagine. Was there ever any like pushback from people in Dover who were like, "All right, dude, you hit the bricks. Like, get out of here. Stop making, stop making so much noise about this thing that happened." Was anyone kind of like, "Don't, all right, we're done with this," or anything like that? Any pushback?
The pushback was right in 1977 from the Dover Historical Society. They didn't want to have this creature connected to Dover.
Yeah.
So that's why to see this evolution to a little bit of a fundraiser and now actual exhibit in their own museum was great, and actually felt like we've come full circle.
Right. So I guess in a sense, it's like, so instead of pushing back, they just kind of closed the walls in a sense.
Yeah,
like,
they didn't
just
want
not going to talk about this. Yeah.
Talk about anybody. They didn't want any copies of it in their organization. They didn't want to keep anything about it. I tried to offer all of that because it is part of their history.
Right.
Of course, I should have known it was too early in their history for them to take it in.
Yeah, exactly. And it's an interesting place. I was there obviously recently for the thing to see the exhibit, but about 3 years ago, Josh Cutchin was out here for Paramania, and we went down to Dover on one of the days we had free. And I was kind of pestering you. It's like really hard. I still don't know exactly where the specific spot is that famously, you got a picture. Nate Frislin found the spot too. He took a picture, but he doesn't remember the coordinates. But it's like, I don't know. And it's nowhere from what I can gather online either, like the actual spot so that's still sort of a bucket list thing for me. But that's.
Well, I've posted the pictures. And
Right.
And I even posted a picture next to Bill Bartlett's drawing, and you can see that I put my hand on the sort of triangle-shaped stone. So on Farm Street, it's pretty easy to find.
Yeah, but you have to really, you have to kind of go along that wall. And I wouldn't recommend people try necessarily because Farm Street's like crazy busy. And people whip down that road. There's no sidewalks or anything. It's
they should try at midnight.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
But to the point, there's no marker or anything like that. There's nothing like that. Yeah.
but there may be someday.
We can only hope, we got about a year and a half, Loren. We need to get on this and
Oh yeah, you and I should show up on the 50th.
Yeah.
But the thing that we have always encouraged is for people not to bother the neighbors.
Right.
Because respect the land.
Yeah. Well, it would be really interesting to see how many people go to Dover just in general, having heard, people, fans of strange stuff, just to check it out, because that's where the Dover Demon was seen.
I've always thought about taking the chapter from Mysterious America and just taking it out and being a nice little pamphlet to hand out at the museum.
Yeah. Well, I hope that they continue with whatever they're doing over there. Right? Like I said, there was such a big turnout that I have to imagine they'd be like, well, this is more.
What was your estimate? estimate of numbers?
In just like the little 45 minutes I was there, I'd say there was like maybe 15 people, which
That's
is pretty good, and that went on for a while. And Haley from Cryptozoology Facts, she came right after I had left. So I think that there was a steady stream of people coming to check it out. And I imagine it was that because there was a fair amount of publicity. I mean, I wrote about it from coast to coast. It was on local news, so I think there was a fair amount of interest in it.
Now we'll see after you broadcast this, there'll probably be a little trickle down there.
Let's hope so. Well, I don't know if they don't have it anymore. I think.
No, but I mean, down to the street.
Oh, down to Dover. Yeah. So it's sort of foolhardy to even ask, but do you have like a theory on what this thing might have been?
Well, I've examined a lot of cases. I've investigated a lot of cases. And I'm very proud that this is my favorite case to say my solution is I don't know.
Yeah.
This is a maximum A1 unknown. There's no animal that matches this. There's no, paranormal object that matches it. I think it's really, I tried all of those. I've investigated a lot of bears with mange, a lot of other animals with mange, dogs, coyotes, chupacabras, all of those. And no creature matches it. And it's just amazing to me. The eyewitnesses are credible. There was never any hint that anybody was trying to trick somebody or got together or any of that. The whole idea that it happened on vacation, school vacation week, a time when nobody could have got in groups and talked to each other, that was amazing. That was like, talk about a miracle, me discovering it, for me to discover it, and then to find out it was at a time when the teenagers weren't even talking to each other was great.
Yeah. Now, there was a question I had that I lost the train of thought, and now it just pulled back into the station. Now, so this, you're into this like about a week after it happens. Was there the expectation, okay, this thing will come back at some point? Like this was there, and so how did you grapple with that? You and the group of researchers, were you all just like, okay, well, it's been a week. There was 3 sightings in that 2-day period. Hopefully we'll see it again. And then it's just like, as more time goes on, this thing never shows up again.
Yeah. One of the things that we did was ask all of these teenagers and then the other ones that we would interview in association with them. Has anybody else seen this? Have you seen it again? And that kind of repeating of that question over and over again, we got a wider and wider circle of clear conviction that nobody else had seen this, that it hadn't returned, that it hadn't died and somebody found the body, and all of that possibilities weren't there. It just blipped in and blipped out. And that that freaked us out.
What do you mean it freaked you out?
Well, I was expecting something like that. I was expecting some further evidence.
No.
I was expecting somebody, and even if it was a hoax, usually the person tries to see it again or find footprints or something.
Keep it going. Yeah, keep it going. Yeah.
And that didn't happen. I mean, one of the things that we started finding in Bigfoot sightings, where people wouldn't be believed, all of a sudden they would find footprints, or they would have a friend that would see it. And none of that peripheral stuff happened with the Dover demon. It just did not appear again.
Yeah. And so like this young woman, Abby, and her boyfriend or friend or whatever, they were the thirds. Like they hadn't heard about what Bill Bartlett had encountered the previous night, right?
Well, what had happened, as far as we did find out that that Will, who was involved with the third sighting, had been briefly told by Bill Bartlett later that he'd seen it. not before those other kids had seen it, but they started because they had to go back to school the next week.
Right. They started talking. Oh, you're not going to believe what happened to me while I was on vacation.
Right.
And then the other guy's like, yeah, I saw that thing too. Yeah, okay.
And Bill Bartlett was actually a visual learner. So he would naturally show the drawing to his friends to sort of communicate. Why tell a whole story full of words when you can see my picture? And he would do that. And I think Will was the first one that saw it from Bill Bartlett. And then the young lady learned from Will.
Interesting. This is all fascinating. Thank you so much. This is I got you for another half hour. We'll talk a little bit of cryptozoology here as we close out 2025, kick off 2026. But this is a classic episode of Binnall of America. Like you said, this is an episode. This is a conversation I would want to listen to if I wasn't on one end of it, because this is I've wanted to hear more about this case for a long time, and it's fascinated me. And this has been a lot of fun and really, really enlightening. And yeah, I guess I kind of asked you this last year about Bigfoot in a sense. But this in a sense with the Dover Demon, to sort of wrap it all up. Do you have a sense of gratification that this has become such a big thing, like that it did this this lightning strike of a case, and now it's like it is an iconic, pretty famous case.
Oh, yeah. I think that I'm very proud of the fact that all of us investigators investigated so deeply, because it, beyond us even trying to promote it or do anything, it's become huge. It's become huge across countries, across Europe, across Asia. Everybody knows the Dover Demon. Yeah. And I'm so glad we did such a rigorous and clean investigation and got so many credible investigators in, and that these young people, and a lot of people really try to ignore, like, the Lawndale Thunderbirds, just because a kid saw it and their parents doesn't mean it's less credible because kids are involved. Sometimes it can be more credible. A lot of the young Bigfoot sightings are by young people. And so we've got to sort of mind what's there and really dig up these stories that sometimes are lost.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm very proud of the Dover Demon. It really, since that time, since I named the Dover Demon, I really have tried to be respectful of the different names that I did give some of these creatures so that I could remember them. And then sometimes other people would remember, like the Montauk Monster. That's another name that I came up with. And it seems to, some of the creatures like Wolfman or something, but somebody one time named some of these sightings Dogmen, and they've become well known. Yeah. So it's just interesting to see some of that evolution.
It is interesting. Now, like I said, we'll touch on some of the stuff here from 2025. Now, I guess I feel like the biggest, the major story that really sort of resonated with me was Jeff Meldrum passing away. I mean, that was like such a enormous loss for the community. And I was saying to Red Pill Junkie Miguel Romero, he'll be on next week's show, but we taped it before this. Jeff, I really felt, obviously felt heartbroken when he passed away. I really felt even more terrible because he was someone I always was like, well, I'll get him on the show eventually, and never did. So I never actually had the chance to interview him. Was fortunate enough to meet him at one of the International Cryptozoology Museum conferences, the one you held in the old train yard thing, the old train repair area.
2018.
Yes, 2018. So I had the chance to meet him, but never had him on the show. Lesson learned. I can't put folks off like that. I can't say, I'll get to them eventually. You can get them on now. Get them on now. You never know where life's going to take us. So I don't have a personal connection with him. Clearly you did. I mean, you and him, I'm sure, were fairly close. Major names in the in the Bigfoot world. I guess just talk a little bit about the impact that he had on everything and his passing, please.
Well, having Jeff Meldrum pass was a big shock for a lot of people in the field. I think it's one of those things that if you don't hook up with them, they may die suddenly, and Jeff certainly did. It was about 3 years ago that Jeff was on a speaking engagement on the Alaska Bigfoot cruise, and he got sick, and it was all kind of mysterious at the time. He got sick, and it was supposed to be a internal digestive thing.
Yeah.
And they wanted to fly a helicopter to the ship and pick him up, and they couldn't land it. So they had to change their course and had to go into a nearby shore port and get him to a hospital. And then he just kind of got quiet. And for about 6 months, he wouldn't talk to anybody. He'd said, "It's okay, I'm getting better." And he did come back and he started doing some lectures. But then all of a sudden, when he died this year, it was like from brain cancer. And that was a big shocker that he'd had brain cancer those years and nobody hadn't really told anybody.
Yeah.
But he was very young, comparatively. I mean, I'm going to be 79. He died at 67.
Right.
That seems very young. And then in the same vein, the guy that headed Bigfoot Books in California, Stephen, he died at 60. So it was a year in which we saw some people passing, including Jeff. Now, Jeff I got to include in my book Bigfoot with Grover Krantz because they were both from the Church of the Latter-day Saints. They were both Mormons.
Oh, interesting.
And that gave them a point of view, a sort of a world philosophy to be very skeptical and open-minded all at the same time.
Yeah.
So, and also this guy that heads Secrets of the Skinwalker, Brandon Fugel.
Yes.
He's a Mormon too. And
Yeah.
so Big Sun classic films, documentaries during the 60s, those were Mormon backed. So I really built up this theory that there's these anthropologists in academia, there's some documentary filmmakers, and they certainly lead good lives. And then they also go on to investigate Bigfoot. One of the things I liked about Jeff was we would appear at a lot of conferences together and always talk. And, I'm just a quiet guy. And you'd always have this circle of people, presenters at these conferences that they'd stay up until 11 o'clock at night and, meet at the bar and tell stories, which is great. I just wasn't one of them, and neither was Jeff. So
Yeah.
I once asked him to come to the bar just to have a drink together, and I was having lemonade and he was having a milk. It was great. But he was a great guy, and he did go through 2 marriages, 6 kids, I think, was the first marriage, and
Oh, wow.
and then a couple kids. And he lived a really sincere life, and he was immensely humorous and very, very friendly and kind. And I just saw that as a real big loss to the field.
Yeah, it certainly was. Yeah, absolutely. Especially, he was like the bridge to academia. Is there anyone else from the academic world who even has sort of a passing interest in this? I guess the scientist you gave the Golden Yeti to, I'm sure she kind of has Nakaris, or I forget her name.
Oh yeah, Anna.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
she's over in England.
Okay, yeah.
She's in England, and there's people like the woman heard our husband out from California, and they talked at our conference too. And so there's academics, but they're not like Grover came forward, and also Jeff came forward with his interest in Bigfoot, and it was like they would always talk to the press. They would talk to they would give parts of their classes on Bigfoot, and it was really different. So the academic credentials that they brought to the field really helped Bigfoot, as well as was imprinted on them. It became a problem sometimes. Roy Mackle did it with the Loch Ness Monster. He was a professor up at the University of Chicago. And so there's been now and then there's been certain ones that have done that, and really it's been wonderful. This year has been a really, as I printed my cryptozoologist and others that have died this year, it was a lot of people, Jane Goodall. I was
going to mention her,
Yeah, she died, and she was very pro Bigfoot by the end of her life. And it was just lots of different individuals. It seemed like a hard year for the field.
It certainly seemed that way. It was like one after another too. It was very it was like, oh wow, it's that bad.
There has been a lot of conversation on social media about who's going to be the next Jeff Meldrum and different things like that. And I think we have to just let him go, let him respect his passing, and then we'll see. There's probably others who are getting their PhDs that will be important. And,
people will come forward eventually. It fills the gap.
You and I did too much baseball to concentrate on the PhD, but I tried.
Well, it certainly was a tough year, but I feel like there's I feel kind of a momentum shift in a way. Maybe it's just because I spent so much more of my time sort of in the Bigfoot realm this year, but it was like, I don't know. I feel like Bigfoot's kind of like on an upswing nowadays. I feel like maybe the bloom is off the rose with the whole UFO thing that was really popular for the last 10 years. I think there's sort of there's a turning back to Bigfoot, in a way that I haven't really seen before. It's become more of this like folk hero thing. I always point out to Paul Bartholomew, our friend in Whitehall, they started the Bigfoot calling contest up there. And I track these now, and I send them to Paul every time I see them. And there have to be, I'd say, eight or nine, maybe 10 of these Bigfoot calling contests have popped up. It's now like de rigueur. If you're holding a Bigfoot event, it has to have a Bigfoot calling contest. So it's like, I don't know. It just feels like there's something going on. It's like Bigfoot's becoming cool again. If it wasn't before, but it's like it's getting even a little more sort of like of cultural cachet to it.
Yeah, I really have that feeling too. It's almost like the change from 25 to 26 is going to be a good thing. It feels very rounding, very, consciously okay again. And I went to one talk that I gave up in Stratton, Maine, and they had a Bigfoot calling contest there. And there was another one outside of Bangor where I'm at, and there was a Bigfoot calling contest here, and it's spreading like wildfire.
Right.
And Paul has everything to get credited for.
Absolutely, yeah. I got to get you out there some year. It's an amazing event. It's got to be on. I wouldn't say it's like on Mothman level, but it's getting there. It is enormous. Yeah. It is really enormous.
So maybe we'll see a Mothman calling contest too. Pointless.
Get up there, flutter. You just got to flutter your arms.
Right. Well, they're giving prizes to who wears the best costume. that looks like Mothman. So,
Oh, really? Have you ever been to the festival, the Mothman Festival?
yeah, I've been a couple of times. One time I was the guest of honor. You know, I didn't have the white suit on like John Keel, but at least.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never been to the festival. I've been to Point Pleasant, but I've never been to the. Quite frankly, like if you really want to see, folks, if you really want to see Point Pleasant and all the stuff, like you don't really want to go on the weekend of the festival because you can barely get around. But
It is so crowded, like 20,000 people in a one little street, and it's as much fried dough as you will ever want in your life.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. Was there any other big stories that stood out to you this year in cryptozoology, or books or people? What you gave the Cryptozoologist of the Year award? Who'd you bestow it upon? This year?
A couple of women whose name I can hardly pronounce. They're red wolf researchers, because if
Red Wolf. Okay.
Yeah, if cryptozoology is about hidden animals, can there be anything more hidden than the red wolf DNA that they found this year? And they spliced it with the coyote, and they came up with a new, baby red wolf. I really have some trouble with the dire wolves and the mammoth and the dodo and all of that promises of these bringing back the thylacine, because I think that's the thylacine may be out there. Why go make a half copy in a laboratory when you've got those out there? But I do think that what they did find, these women, through the DNA search, they found a real pocket of red wolf DNA on Galveston Island near Texas, in Texas.
Yeah.
About 20 of them still exist, and they're splicing it together, the hybridized little clones that will save that species and bring them back. And so I think that's worthy of some recognition, especially I think in a year talking about Bigfoot, we should really be respectful of how much of an impact Jeff Meldrum did.
Yeah.
We never gave him a cryptozoologist of the year because, like you, I thought he was going to exist forever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And we could do it later, but we gave him the cryptozoologist of the year 2025 in memoriam because we should.
Yeah. Yeah.
He should really win the Golden Yeti. So that was important to us to do that, and also for Stephen.
Yeah.
So I look.
How about? I know you do the list of books. How about you got anything in particular that stood out to you this year that was, of interest to you in the book front?
Well, one of the ones that really I liked a lot was The Secret World of the Denisovans.
Interesting. Okay.
Because within there, they talk about sort of they're like the Yeti of the Himalayas. And that's where the skull was found in China. And also the first bones were coming from the Himalayas.
Yeah.
But there's another book that came out, believe it or not, totally at the end of the year. And it's a scientific look at Sasquatch and it's skeptical sort of, and it's open-minded, but it's one book that I'm going to have to write up in the next week to get on the list before the end of the year, because for some reason they waited and publish it. And I guess they think people are going to notice it in 2026. And it looks like a lot of people will want to read this because they look in depth, not so much at Sasquatch, but at the Sasquatch investigators.
Oh, interesting. Oh, was this the one that was okay? I saw this, I think I saw some media about the person who wrote the book. Yeah, I think there was a major article in I want to say the Times or one of the major outlets that was exploring it was something like I learned, that yeah, it has to be the guy.
Well, it was
I know exactly.
two people
Okay.
read it.
Yeah, okay. I'm certain that was what the source of the article was. I think you know what I'm talking about. There was an article that was printed in a major publication that was like about Bigfoot hunters and how they use science and how they're discounted for being amateurs, but actually they're actually doing pretty good science. That was kind of the point of the article, and I'm sure that's connected to this book. If that's what you're talking about.
Right.
Now, I had an interesting show on back in the fall with Kevin Gould, who runs the Thunderbird Photo website, where he's dug into this Thunderbird photo. I had never heard about this mystery in all my years of being involved in this, so it really blew me away. We had an in-depth show on that, but I was just interested in your thoughts on this Thunderbird photo mystery, that this assertion that there's a Thunderbird photo, this apocryphal photo. I suppose you've known about this for a long time, I assume.
Well, because Ivan Sanderson was involved. He first in the 60s brought out the fact that he thought he'd seen the Thunderbird photo in the 50s and in some kind of natural history magazine, and then he couldn't re-find it. And that was a very frustrating thing. So both Ivan Sanderson and Mark A. Hall both went on the search for the Thunderbird photo, never could find it. I never had the great experience of having run across it, and so I couldn't jump on that and say, no, I saw it too. No, I never did. And I never thought they were hoaxing it, but it sort of felt like one of those situations where you come up with the name, the Bernstein Bears.
Yeah, Mandela effect thing.
Yeah, it felt like one of those in which maybe there was something psychological going on, and none of us had the keys to it. But why they couldn't find it, I don't know.
Quite strange. Yeah.
But also the other thing that I looked at several different, hey, this is it, and hey, this is it.
Yeah.
Sanderson talked about it being a thunderbird with feathers, like a giant condor or teratorn or something. Whereas some of the people that are bringing up the thunderbird photo really are talking about pterodactyls.
Right.
More leathery and stuff like that. So I think there needs to be some of that needs to be sorted out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, it's like a weird sort of case. I'd never even heard that there was this apocryphal photo, much less a mystery of did it exist? Where is it? It's like, what a weird sort of isolated mystery. So now, as we wrap it up here, you're getting ready for the big move, right? The museum. Let's talk about the museum. It's moving. Is this going to be in April? Is that what's the timeline here for the big move?
Yeah, of course. Natural weather tends to get in our way. We had it all set to do some of the final things in October, like asphalting our parking lot. And then we got snow early, very early. And so we're waiting for the snow to melt now to put the new parking lot in and the back parking lot and all of that. I still am setting up the move because we've got, I think, 3 days of moves over 3 days each, in which the movers will be bringing 3 truckloads per move up to Bangor, and then we'll have to curate it. We'll be able to do all that because I can curate very quickly, and we have lots of people to help.
Yeah.
But we also are waiting on the city. I will meet with them later this week for the inspection to get the occupancy permit. But we're setting up April 1st as the day we want to open. So that's pretty close. And a lot of people,
it's pretty close.
A lot of people are more scared than I am. I'm a very optimistic person, so I think
You've been extremely optimistic since this whole thing was announced. So I I marvel at it, because along the way I've been like, I don't know, Loren, this is, but it's happening. It's happening.
well, the museum down in Portland, we were kind of going along that we have to move out in the spring, and then the people there that are our landlords, we've been there 10 years, a little more than 10 years. And they said, "Oh, well, you can stay here." So I made a deal with them. Yeah, we'd like to stay. We'll overlap our existence for a year, another year in Portland, and we'll go ahead and open in Bangor. And then they come to me like 4 or 5 months ago, and they say, "Sorry, you're out,"
Oh,
because they want to expand the brewery down there.
yeah, that brewery's, yeah, it's
It's a monster itself. So
Monster's good. Yeah, yeah, it's exceedingly popular. So I can see, yeah, they really, yeah, that thing took off. So it's like,
So they'll take our little space that has had monsters in it, and they'll create new monster beers. So that's fine. So we're actually changing on January 1st. We're only going to be open on 4 days of the weekend.
okay,
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Or maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. That's it.
Yeah.
We'll do that. In the middle of the week, we're going to keep going, packing things, moving stuff up a little bit at a time. And then during January and February, we'll have those sort of truncated hours. Then in March will be our move, and we'll have some people still visiting us. But in April, we're going to definitely, I don't know how many people have seen our building up in Bangor, but it's 6,666 square feet. It's absolutely huge.
yeah, yeah,
And it's actually, I bought it for the museum 3 years ago now. And one of the first things I did was we got it certified and registered with the National Registry of Historical Sites, because it's a streamlined, modern building.
yeah.
And that really will keep it in fine shape for all these years. So,
Nice. Yeah, yeah.
if it doesn't kill me, I'll be there.
It's a very visually striking building. So yeah, it's cool. And you already have plans for where the wooden Bigfoot will be out front and everything?
No, I think we're going to move that inside.
Oh, okay.
What's happened in Portland is the feet started decaying, and it's sort of one-footed now, and it's being held up. But we now have the one upstairs, which we call the Crookston Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And then the one out front, which is called Elwood. And then another one, which we got from a documentary, it's called the Big Fur, and it's actually a female. So there's 3 very graphic Bigfoot there, but that's one of many cryptids. And so, we have the gill man and the giant salamander and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
The other thing that we're doing in this building, though, is because of this, the architecture of the building, my whole collection of about 500 model buildings, other places around the world, we're all putting in the museum so that the architectural school in Maine and others around the country can come study the architecture that overlaps with the romantic zoology and the beginnings of cryptozoology. So
nice. That's
all
awesome.
going to be nice. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And so you're targeting April 1st. We'll see, that's a Wednesday. So that's probably like the soft opening more than anything, right?
Yeah. I think that a lot of people trying to talk me out of April 1st because of April Fool's Day, but that kind of stuff doesn't scare me.
No, if anything, I figured you chose that on purpose just because you're cheeky like that. I that's what I assumed. I was like, oh, of course he picked April 1st. That's Loren. That's well, I don't know about April 1st, but I will be there, either on opening day or shortly thereafter, because I want to see.
Depending on depending on how quickly we get the museum up and running, we'll probably try to do a conference in October of 2006, and I know you'll come to that.
Absolutely.
2026.
Yeah, I'd like to be a part of it. So let me know. You know, we can. I'll cook up something to talk about. Yeah. Well, with all that said, and folks, you still got the GoFundMe and all that, right? So folks can kind of help this transition.
Yeah, it's just a little donate at the end of things we do. You know.
Yeah.
The donation, it's on the website.
Yeah, and we'll throw up the link through Binnall of America through on the YouTube and on the socials and everything. So
we have to borrow money. And it's always good to help us pay off our debts, but we're actually going in for another loan next week because we've got to get a little bit of money to push over the edge here.
There you go. Yeah. And I would be remiss if before we go, I would be remiss in not thanking you for bringing me along on the first pitch experience at the Portland Sea Dogs game over July 4th weekend. Just a once in a lifetime experience. And I really appreciate that you invited me to be a part of it. I got to throw out the first pitch with you and some of the Squatch Squatchachusetts guys.
Right.
And this cast of Scooby-Doo, it was a really, in addition to my trip to Georgia to hunt for Bigfoot with Kutch, I think these were the two personal highlights of the year for me and my trip down to Kentucky too. But just a surreal experience. I always tell people the heat was unbearable. We were dying, man. I don't know how that guy in the Scooby-Doo costume, I don't know how he made it through the day.
That was a hot day. But, I noticed because I have a video of all the first pitches, the five people that represented us. You had the best form of all the right-handers. My son did the best form as a left-hander.
I appreciate that. I'll be honest. I didn't know. I really nerfed it because I didn't really practice or anything. I never played as a kid. So I was just like, I kind of just whipped it at the poor girl.
But you had the whole body form. Your whole body form was quite exquisite.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, I was very taken aback. We talked because of course, I had the unfortunate role of I was following like 8-year-olds. It was their birthdays, so they got to throw out the first pitch too. So it's like 3 8-year-olds, then Binnall, and then I get up there, and the girl, the PA announcer, has this elaborate introduction of like my whole career, and I'm just like, and I'll be honest, I completely like froze in the moment where I was just like, oh, I thought she was just gonna say my name. She's doing the whole, and took off my hat and like did a little wave around the stadium. I was like, this is one for the memoirs, man. This is one for the book. So thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
Very welcome.
I loved it. We'll
have to do it again for the Red Sox.
Absolutely. With all that said, Loren, I wish you the absolute best on the move. If there's anything I can do to help out, let me know. I will be in Bangor at some point this year to see you, I'm sure. And I just wish you absolutely all the best here in 2026. It sounds like it's going to be a really big year for you. And I'll be there cheering you on all the way, man. And thank you for an awesome conversation today.
Oh, you're very welcome. It was great to talk about the Dover Demon, and I'm glad to hear that our buddy Miguel is going to be on next week, and he has a fabulous painting he's done of me that we'll be using to help promote the new museum in Bangor. So
excellent.
Say hi to him too.
I will. Happy New Year, my friend.
Happy New Year.